we have someone that I would personally label him as a music connoisseur. His educational background includes a master's in art in global entertainment and music at Berklee College of Music. And for the last 5 years, he has been studying the music tech landscape. So with no further ado, let me introduce you to Yash Bagal. Yash, how's it going?
Hey, hey, all good, all good. How you guys doing?
Pretty much good. The floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. First of all, just hey everyone, I'm Yash. Thank you so much for having me. I saw the panelists. It's just like an amazing lineup you guys have. So really, really honored to be a part of this. I can just like give you guys a bit of a background about me, and while I share my screen. Okay. You might have to probably give me permission, I think.
1 sec. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, got it. Sweet. Okay. Yeah. So I'm Yash. I have been. My background is in music and tech, and it's kind of. I would say split half and half between research and practice. So on the research side, I've been researching and writing for a few music and tech journalists, Water and Music by Shaihu, for example. And on the practice side, most recently I worked for ByteDance. So just helping them kind of execute their artist operation strategy in India, more specifically for TikTok and Resso, which is their new streaming service. Today I'm super excited because like this topic is something that I've been kind of thinking about for a while, and it's basically framed under post-pandemic recovery strategies and what the music business can learn from the creator economy. And we can get right into it. Cool. So the problem here, I think, is that even though we kind of think of the music business as a part of the broader creator economy, it operates in a fundamentally different way, right? And this is something that I've been trying to figure out for a while, and all of our practices, all of the stakeholders in the music business operate in a fundamentally different way from some of the creator economy platforms, and we'll get into like specific platforms as well. But today I just wanted to lay down some key paradigms as to what we can learn from these platforms and how that can probably guide us in the future post pandemic. And I just want to like a quick disclaimer is that obviously I don't claim to know like if this is the exact way we should do it, but this is a good framework for the future we're heading in, so we can get into it. Right. So the context here is the passion economy, and the fundamental thesis is that the internet has enabled a world where you can build a lean, sustainable business centered around your individuality to serve your most ardent, loyal fans and monetize them. Right. And this kind of harks back to the 100 true fans theory, which was pioneered by Lee Jin and Adam Davidson. And we see a lot of individual, lean, artist-led enterprises. And I think that it's important to contextualize it within the broader passion economy, and then come into like some of the key frameworks. Right. So the first one is artists as entrepreneurs. I think like creators are building lean enterprises centered around their individuality, like I said. And, I don't mean this in some abstract, like corporate communications kind of way. Like I feel like in the music business, there's a certain discomfort when it comes to talking about the financial incentives that creators or musicians might have when they're building their fandom. And it's so important to understand and not confuse like selling versus selling out. So to give you an example, I mean, in the creator economy, this similar vilification, or I mean, I would say, demonization of financial incentives is not present. Like the expectations that artists need to be detached from any financial gain stemming from their art uh, does not exist. In fact, I would say like this is one of the reasons why the music business has so many intermediaries. I mean, to give you an example, like there was an artist who once told me that we're willing to pay 15% to our manager just because he makes uncomfortable phone calls. Like calling venues and asking for money, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, it's this interesting thing where like people in the creator economy like Ali Abdal or like even David Dobrik, who's like a celebrated example. In fact, this is celebrated, like when they post videos about how much money they earned or like what their revenues are like, when they break down their revenues, it's kind of celebrated rather than thought of as uh, let's say slightly demeaning, shall we say. So what does this mean? When more and more artists become entrepreneurs, there arises a need for software tools to help them run their businesses efficiently, right? So we're seeing a proliferation of like a lot of creator SaaS tools, which is software as a service. Some recent examples are like Stir, for example, is a really, really nice tool. It gives you like this financial modeling kind of software, which creators can just plug in their Stripe and they have all of their analytics from YouTube, from Substack if you're running a newsletter, so you it's like a one-stop shop it's like an operating system for your business essentially. So you log on to Stir, you get a financial projection as to how much revenue is coming in from AdSense, how much revenue is coming in from a brand placement, uh, and especially in the creator realm, your revenue is not it's not like you're getting a paycheck at the end of every month, right? You don't have it's not a job. So your money is coming in very, very intermittently. It's coming in very, very variably. So you need a platform that kind of gives you a financial modeling tool, let's say. They recently actually raised like a Series A round and like the company is valued at like $100 million, and it's the funding round was led by Andreessen Horowitz, which is a really, really famous VC firm in Silicon Valley. And to give you a music specific example, of course, I'm sure you've heard of CreateOS's record deal simulator. Really nice tool. Of course, there are some problems and it's slightly rudimentary, but I think like it's a step in the right direction. They also launched a publishing deal simulator, which is amazing as well. So yeah, like I said, we need these softwares so that we ensure that creators and music creators, of course, including everyone, run their businesses efficiently. Especially the more they kind of detach themselves from labels and your traditional intermediaries that were helping them do some of these things. The next one is is like an unfortunate one. So audio UGC, audio user generated content, is having its moment, but unfortunately it's not music. It's as you guys all know, it's all about Clubhouse, and Clubhouse is doing really well. They recently raised a Series B funding, again led by Andreessen Horowitz, at a $1 billion valuation, which is insane. I have my thoughts about that, but we can dive into that later. They're launching a creator program, and as per recent stats, they're at about like 2 million weekly active users, which is really cool for a platform that's still invite only. So if you see like, okay, fine, Clubhouse invites are kind of widespread now, but it's still in an invite only phase, and having 2 million weekly active users is a big deal. So this audio UGC rush is kind of interesting, right? Because now you have like different tech giants kind of jumping into this bandwagon. Like you have Facebook, they're building like a Clubhouse-like product, and this is like 5 days after Mark Zuckerberg made an appearance on Clubhouse. And I mean, yeah, it's like you're doing something right when Mark Zuckerberg copies your product. Like if Instagram is any evidence. So yeah, I mean, all the tech platforms are kind of getting into this bandwagon. Like I said, Twitter recently acquired this platform called Breaker, and they're building something called Twitter Spaces, which is again very similar to Clubhouse, Mark Cuban is launching a Clubhouse rival. It's called Fireside, a little more focused on creator monetization, and also it's more exclusive. So it's like not everyone can create content. It's a little more curated, like a curated slate of creators. And I just pulled up this tweet before the presentation, which I thought like is super funny. This is Hamish, who's like the founder of Substack, but he's essentially talking about how Facebook is getting into the newsletter business as well. So it's like Exxon launching a solar energy project. So yeah. So why? Why is, I mean, one is, yes, it's great. Audio UGC is having its moment, like video did with like, YouTube and TikTok. But then why is it not music? I think like primarily it's because we do not have easy and frictionless means of creation. And what I mean by that is, while we've kind of reached this common consensus on the acceptability of, raw amateur looking UGC videos, we're still kind of intolerant with amateur music. Like nobody wants to hear shoddy music, right? I mean, I kind of joke often that like it's way more engaging to watch a video of like an elephant riding a unicycle than it is to watch like an amateur musician or like a musician who's playing like really bad music. Let's not say amateur, but and the main reason for that is we don't have the means of creation yet to help make the creation of music easy and frictionless. And this is a really hard problem to solve. I don't think any platform has solved this. I mean, of course, there are some hardware and software solutions, which we'll talk about. But I don't think the music business has had this, oh, everyone's a photographer now moment powered by Instagram and the iPhone, or everyone's a podcaster now with Clubhouse as well. Basically, I kind of summed it up here. Like if Clubhouse is this everyone is a podcaster now kind of moment, then what platform is going to lead to this, oh yeah, everyone's a musician now moment, right? So yeah, I mean, I think this is an interesting space to watch out for, and yeah, I think it'll be super cool to see some of the companies kind of coming up in this space. I just like mapped out like some I feel like potential competitors in this space. Like Facebook, I would say like their R&D department is toying around with a lot of products. Some make it to some see the light of day, some don't. But they recently, I mean, I think like a week ago they launched something called Bars. It's essentially like a TikTok like app that lets music creators rap over like professionally created beats. So it just makes you sound a little more professional. I think it's still, I would say, like geared towards like more like professional rappers, but it's pretty good. Like I was kind of checking out the UX a little bit, and it's nice. Snap recently acquired Voicey, which is also this described as this TikTok for audio kind of platform. It lets users create music content by overlaying their vocals and music tracks and enhancing it by audio filters. So you sound like you're singing in the shower, which kind of plays into the acoustics a little bit. So people like me can use Voicey and sound okay, I guess, acceptable. And you have Smule, which has been around. It's mostly a karaoke app, but like it's been around since 2012. They're doing some stuff. But yeah, like I wouldn't say that we're at a point where anyone can pick up a phone and in 15 seconds create content or create music content that's like engaging. Like I can download TikTok right now, like just go on the App Store on my phone and then download TikTok and immediately create content. Of course, not the best content. There's a learning curve, but still create decent content. Whereas music hasn't had that moment. And I'm super excited. I'm very hopeful about this space. I think there's a lot that can be done here. Right. So coming to what some of the creators are doing. So I've also been kind of thinking about like what can musicians, like musicians in the traditional sense, like it's I really don't like drawing these lines, but let's say like let's separate a musician in like a traditional sense and like creators in general. And what can musicians learn from these creators, or what are some of the business strategies that indie artists or DIY artists can adopt? And one fundamental like guiding principle that most successful creators have is they optimize their social capital to financial capital funnel. Quick definition of social capital. By social capital, I mean you're following across, socials like Instagram, whatever, Snap, and TikTok, etc., etc. Uh, and financial capital is, of course, money, right? So we'll dive into like specifics of the funnel in a bit. I think it's interesting to see like how it kind of progresses up and down the funnel, because on the top of the funnel you have like a lot of these open-ended platforms like TikTok, Instagram, etc. And as you go down in the funnel, you have like more monetization tools, like Patreon, for example, is somewhere in the middle of the funnel. You have some products that help you launch physical goods, which we'll explore in the next slides. So yeah, I mean, successful creators, David Dobrik's of the world, the Mr. Beasts of the world, the Charlie D'Amelios of the world, they've really optimized this social capital to financial capital funnel. And I feel like this has to be consciously done by musicians. I think when they're with a label, there's a decent understanding about this. Of course, the label is there's a professional entity. They do it right. But if you're going DIY, you really need to dig into this paradigm, because it's super, super, super important. So yeah, I mean, as you kind of optimize your social capital to financial capital funnel, you have a lot of platforms who help creators do this. So I've just kind of mapped out a few examples here. On the content side, you have this platform called Ramble. It's a company called Ramble, and they basically, I mean, it's a joint venture between Cadence 13 and UTA, which is a talent agency, and they basically do like podcasts around famous influencers. So they take a famous influencer and they'll create a media ecosystem around this person. So they've produced Two Chicks, which is the podcast that Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio host. They've also done The Other D'Amelios. I mean, that's literally the podcast name, which is their parents. So that's Mark and Heidi D'Amelio. It's kind of interesting because I feel like the D'Amelios are like the Kardashians of this era. Very similar dynamics. They're launching a documentary, a docu-series of sorts on Hulu. So yeah, they share kind of like the similar dynamics, I would say, in this section. The second company I wanted to highlight was Morphe, and they're basically helping influencers like launch their own branded beauty products. So it's being used by like famous creators like Emma Chamberlain, and essentially they kind of take care of the manufacturing. So what they're doing is they're taking to put it into like the paradigm we kind of explored earlier, they're taking Emma Chamberlain's social capital, all of her accumulated followers on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, etc., and they're converting that into financial capital, hard cash, of course, for a take rate for Emma Chamberlain, right? By like taking care of the manufacturing, everything. So it's just her name that goes out while they take care of all of the back end infrastructure. The third one is super interesting and really relevant. This one is called Virtual Dining Concepts. It's like their entire business model is centered around like creating food products and food lines around famous creators. So you have like their most recent campaign was with Mr. Beast, who's like a famous YouTuber, and they launched something called Mr. Beast's Burgers, and they've sold like 1 million burgers in 2 months. So that's incredible. Like they have like a cloud kitchen kind of a system. I mean, kind of like Uber Eats, but they'll partner with local restaurants. This was in the US and Canada, but yeah, like just like partnering with local restaurants, making sure they deliver the burgers on time, etc. But yeah, like using Mr. Beast's brand name, launching a physical product around it. The food one is interesting though, because like there have been a lot of qualms about how the burgers are actually not good, like they're not good tasting. And so I feel like social capital has a limit, right? Like just because you like Mr. Beast, you're not going to buy a terrible tasting burger, or at least not buy it twice. So yeah, there are some limitations. So it has to be done, like I would say, carefully. Let's put it that way. Right. So another paradigm I wanted to talk about is social capital as a precondition and not a byproduct. And what do I mean by this? Essentially, the question is like, do people today become famous because they make music, or make music because they become famous? And this just completely turns the traditional model on its head, right? Because like earlier, say in the 70s or the 80s, you had people who became famous because they became musicians, like they created good music, or let's say music, and became famous because of that. But now you have examples of people who became famous first and then made music. And I mean, we of course, like we have people from TikTok coming in and talking at the conference as well, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. But it's important to kind of understand the art and science of virality. So for example, Dixie D'Amelio, to bring her up again, she signed a deal with LA Reid's Hitco, and she's been releasing a lot of music. You have tons of examples of TikTok stars who are signing record deals. And I would argue, honestly, like, even if you're not thinking of it from a record deal perspective, say you don't want a record deal, I still think that, so I was just like polling on Twitter today. Like, I was asking like the Twitterverse basically, like, if someone were to come up to you and say, hey, I really want to become a successful musician, what should I do? And I were to give you two options. Like, one is master an instrument, or build an audience on social media. And what are the odds of each option? I would put my bet on, and coming from a music school, this kind of I'm not really happy to report this, but like it's true. Like musical proficiency has kind of become secondary. Like you would rather build an audience. uh, of course, you have to take into account everyone's definition of success. So I would qualify that statement by saying, it depends. It depends. So you have examples like Nathan Evans as well, the sea shanty creator, and yeah, he signed a deal with Universal recently, and Spotify users have created like 12,000 sea shanty playlists, which is insane. I think even from a genre perspective, this might be cool. I'm sure Lindsay or like the Billboard team, someone has covered it already, and yeah, it's just like super interesting to see how it kind of revives like certain genres. Right. And when I talk about like virality and building an audience, like I think, and personally I was guilty of this as well. Like I had this misconception first, and I learned otherwise. Basically, I thought that, okay, if you're aiming for virality and building an audience, you're inauthentic, you know. But the weird paradox of this is that, authenticity, like especially when you're serving, like I've said here, if you're serving your 100 true fans, if you're thinking about it from a passion economy perspective, then actually being yourself is the most valuable proposition you can offer, you know. And I don't it's not this romanticized ideal of, oh yeah, I have to be authentic, art is about being authentic, all of that. No, let's keep that aside for a moment. I'm talking from a very, very commercial standpoint as well. Like even if you're a very rational, commercially minded person, authenticity sells. That's how it is. And of course it prevents existential dread, which is a bonus for your mental health. But yeah, like even from a commercial perspective, it's very important to be authentic. Like Clairo, for example, she is celebrated for being the awkward bedroom pop kind of idol she is. Or Lizzo, she's celebrated for being who she is, like, and she empowers other people to also kind of be accepted for who they are, and not like kind of fit into like these certain stereotypes of what's cool and what's not cool. So I think it's like a super interesting time to be a creator, and I feel like even as a musician or as a music creator, you have to keep this in mind, right? So authenticity is actually really valuable. The thing is, you have to find your 100 true fans. you know the internet is a place where, like, even if you're into the most niche of niche things, you're going to find 100 people who are equally passionate about it and willing to pay for it, right? So it's just about finding those fans who are willing to pay for it. Right. So, I mean, I had some examples about creators and, some of their revenue streams, and they're kind of centered around like content, community, commerce, etc. But since, this is a business school, and I'm guessing a lot of people are from a business background, I really wanted to talk about what platforms are doing in this space, because I think like this is the most interesting space to look out for. And I think that if we are to if you're talking about post-pandemic recovery strategies, etc., it's super important for music platforms to invest in creator programs, right? So creators drive a significant value for the platform. The perennial question, I guess, is like, does a creator need a platform, or does the platform need a creator? And you see this in the music realm a lot, where oftentimes it's almost like musicians need the platform, and the platform is doing musicians a favor by giving them this huge avenue for distribution. Whereas if you see it in the creator space, creators actually welcome and fight for platforms actually fight for creators, like the Ninja example, Mixer wanting Ninja from Twitch, say, is a good example of that. So yeah, I mean, platforms are thinking about their creator strategy very early on in their life cycle. So you have Snapchat Spotlight, which we're going to deep dive on. Very interesting program. You have TikTok's Creator Fund. You have Clubhouse's influencer program. And what do these programs mean essentially? So there are two battlegrounds for creator platforms, right? One, like how do you motivate a creator to come to your platform? Like say you're a Snapchat or you're a TikTok, like you want to get more creators onto your platform. What is the right way to do it? So that I think like it's like two dimensions that we can think about this in. One is your social capital dimension, status, fame. There's a really cool paradigm called status as a service, which I highly recommend you read and look up. And this kind of depends on the creator life cycle. So the platform can promise a creator saying, hey, if you come to us, we'll give you exposure, we'll give you engagement, we'll give you 1 million followers, or whatever. That can be done through the algorithm. TikTok's For You page, for example, is very egalitarian. It does not prioritize like famous people. It's a very like anyone can become viral. So it's a very interesting kind of algorithmic let's say equity. And the other paradigm is like financial capital. So this is like money, right? It's like the opportunity to monetize or actual money to directly given to the creator. So let's take some examples. I think that's the best way to do it. So Triller, as you know, is TikTok's big, one of the biggest competitors for TikTok. And there's this joke in LA, like it's called like Triller money. Basically, like Triller executives like are taking their top creators to like sushi dinners at Nobu, like at fancy restaurants, and like funding like helicopter shoots and like all sorts of extravagant stuff, like very old school Hollywood kind of stuff. This used to happen like in the 70s, like Hollywood producers like buying someone a Rolls Royce just so that they can get a role in their movie. And like so it's kind of interesting to see how new platforms are doing like old media stuff, like even though they're so-called new platforms. Then you have TikTok's creator fund. So it's like this, essentially it's a pool of money that gets paid out to creators based on virality. So it's not based on like and every single day your the probability of you getting the money is the same, right? Super egalitarian. Clubhouse is launching its own creator program. LinkedIn is doing its own program. YouTube, super underappreciated. I feel, always in the music business, it's always under fire for low payouts, but they've paid like $30 billion in 3 years. And if you compare that with the amount of creators on YouTube, that's insane. Right. So I mean, I'm kind of running out of time. I have 4 minutes, so I'm just gonna like quickly skim through this. Snapchat Spotlight did like a 22% uptick in DAUs. So incentivizing creators works from a platform perspective. Right. And then you have your appetite for distraction, the race for short form content. You have a lot of platforms kind of getting into short form content. You have YouTube launching its own TikTok rival. You have Reddit acquiring Dubsmash. You have Clash acquiring Byte. UMG is doing a lot of interesting stuff. They partnered with Lego and they launched this short form music video creation app. So super interesting space to watch out for. And I think I think YouTube's Shorts is going to be. I don't know how successful it'll be. TikTok's algorithm is really solid, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Some challenges, just quickly talking about challenges, like creator burnout. Obviously, I can give my own example. Like running a Substack newsletter is hard. You have people, especially when you have paying subscribers, which I don't yet. But like once you have paying subscribers, there's an expectation that you deliver week in and week out. There's no paid time off. There's no holidays. Like it's not like you can take the day off. People are paying money. They expect stuff. So creators get burnt out. And their winner take all systems, like the power law in some of these platforms is absolutely insane. Roblox is a good example of that, and it's very tricky to solve winner take all effects. And of course, give equality of opportunity for creators while doing so. Right, recent news. I mean, NFTs are all over the place, and I think this is a super cool place to look out for new monetization opportunities for creators. I think there's a lot that can be done in this space. There's of course user-centric payouts that SoundCloud launched, and just in like a couple of hours ago, Square, which is Jack Dorsey's company, Twitter co-founder, they acquired Tidal, and they're going to think about new monetization models. So exciting stuff happening.
Thank you so much, Yash.
Yeah, thank you.
So sorry to interrupt you. Thank you.
No. I'm just like concluding. Thanks so much, and yeah,
Thank
happy
you so
to.
much for the insightful keynote. It was a pleasure to have you at Insights.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.